Kurt, let's get now to Tulsi Gabbard. She was one of President Trump's most controversial cabinet picks, even among some Republicans. But Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer, said today that, quote, if a secret vote were cast on Gabbard, maybe she would get 10 votes. You all know how bad she is. Do you think a private vote would have come out differently?
Oh, yeah, I think that, and so many of these cabinet nominees, from Hegseth to Bobby to Tulsi, if this was a private secret ballot, the results would likely be much different. And it just speaks to the cowardice, frankly, of some of these Republican senators who say one thing behind closed doors, but go out there and pretend like everything is okay. They pretend like someone's qualified when they know that she's not. It's not lost on me that the only person willing to say these things out loud and put his name and vote next to it is the former Republican leader himself, Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, Ronna, Mitch McConnell was the lone exception. He said in a statement today that, quote, the nation should not have to worry about the intelligence assessments the president receives being tainted by a director of national intelligence with a history of alarming lapses in judgment. And listen, you know, maybe Kurt said that all these senators say one thing in public and say another thing in private. Some of these senators were actually public about their concerns about Tulsi Gabbard. They were deeply concerned about her after a confirmation hearing.
Well, and you saw two senators that didn't vote for Hegseth, right, Murkowski and Collins, who did meet with Tulsi Gabbard, and they did vote for her. They are certainly not people that I think the Democrats would label as rubber stamps for Trump. I think they are Republicans who have gone against the grain of their party over and over again. And through their meetings and through their interactions with Tulsi Gabbard, they decided that she was qualified to take on this role. And I do think the Senate says to the president, we want to give you the people that you want. You're the one who was elected. We want to give you the cabinet you want. We're going to raise red flags if we feel like there are serious issues. But they are putting through his nominees, and they're vetting them seriously.
In the meantime, Kurt, analysts and scholars all over the place are raising all sorts of concerns about a, quote, constitutional crisis at the White House, because so many of Trump's executive orders and actions come close to the line of being illegal. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the real crisis is actually in the judicial branch, which is ruling in almost every case, almost, not all, against the Trump administration. Trump had to know that much of his agenda would wind up in court.
Yeah, I think they did, and I think that's a fight that they're comfortable having, hence this is the way that they're advancing it. It's not lost on me that on things like the firing and termination of inspectors general, that the very Republicans, and I'm old enough to remember when I was a House Republican working with the House Oversight Committee, and them crying bloody murder anytime any rule or effort to remove an inspector general happened. It was the Darrell Isas, the Jim Jordans, the Mark Meadowses, the Mick Mulvaney's, our friend and colleague, who are the very first to say we should not have imperial presidencies. We should not have emperors or kings, people acting unilaterally to remove the watchdogs of our bureaucracy. When you talk about waste, fraud, abuse, mismanagement in the federal government, it was House Republicans who used the inspectors general as the first line of defense of the taxpayers in that mission. So to watch now, those very Republicans who are in very elevated, high-profile places sit there silently and they're casually okay with this president removing the IGs, removing the watchdogs, removing the guardians of our bureaucracy, and hold Trump to a completely different standard than any other president before. It is a betrayal of everything they said they stood for when I was working with them.
Ron, you care to respond?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to hear what Kurt's saying when we had AOC go on TV and say, we're going to defy the Supreme Court when they came down with their ruling on Roe v. Wade. This is what Democrats were saying. In fact, they were going as far to say, we should stack the Supreme Court. We should add more justices to the Supreme Court because we don't like their rulings. So Trump said yesterday, I'm going to abide by the courts. I'm going to use the appeal process. He's going through the proper rule of law. And I think that's what he should do. But a lot of this will be decided in the courts.
They will be. Kurt Bardella, Ronna McDaniel, great to talk to you both. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.